Hey mama, welcome to Mum Day and welcome to this labor prep flow. This routine is all about opening your pelvis to create space for baby. Your pelvis isn't just one fixed shape. It opens and adapts during labor for baby to descend and rotate through. It has three key areas: the pelvic inlet, where baby will engage in early labor, and this opens more with wide knee positions and a posterior pelvic tilt, moving the top of the sacrum back and out of the way. The midpelvis is where your baby will shimmy and rotate through, and this opens more with asymmetrical hip movements like side to side movements, forward and back movements, and hip shifted movements. And then the pelvic outlet is where your baby will be born out of, and this opens more with hip internal rotation, where the knees are in narrow, the feet are out wide, and an anterior pelvic tilt, moving the sacrum and the tailbone back and out of the way of that pelvic outlet. Each area plays a role in helping your baby to move down and out. And so having good mobility in all three levels of the pelvis can make your labor and delivery more comfortable, faster, reduce your risk of large tears, and reduce your risk of needing medical interventions. Not only do we want to work on mobility of this bony pelvis, but your baby will also meet your pelvic floor muscles, which is this hammock of muscles that sits inside the base of your pelvis. And these muscles need to stretch up to 150% of their resting length whilst your baby is crowning. And so in this routine, we're gonna work on pelvis mobility for all three levels. And we're also gonna work on pelvic floor muscle elongation and relaxation. We don't need any equipment for this routine, but if you like to use pillows and blankets for a little bit of support, especially under the knees, then grab those. I recommend putting on comfy clothes, turning down the lights, removing your distractions if possible, and when you're ready, let's jump into it. We're gonna start this routine with some 360 breathing. So find a comfortable seated position or side lying position, just anywhere where you feel most relaxed. And I like to place my hands on my rib cage, and we're just gonna take a really deep inhale together, expanding the rib cage in 360 degrees. So through the front, through the back, and through the sides. Expanding that rib cage. The air is going to gently press down onto your pelvic floor muscles. And then exhale, let everything go, let all of that air out of the body. We can do a 2-to-1 breath, so inhaling for 4 seconds, exhaling for 8 seconds. Try to relax your shoulders, relax your chest, relax your jaw, really sending that air into the rib cage. That air is going to gently press down on the pelvic floor, lengthening those muscles. So you can visualize that stretch of the pelvic floor with your inhales. And then exhales are going to release that tension and just let it melt out of your body. Never underestimate the power of your breath. Practicing deep breathing to help relax the body can be so powerful during pregnancy, and you can take that skill into your labor to surrender to sensations, to relax your body and to release tension. You can also take this time to do a full body scan, starting at the top of your head, working your way all the way down to the toes. And we're going to take one deep inhale again together. Good job. Okay, next movement we're going to come into is a deep squat position. So we're going to have our feet out nice and wide to make room for our belly, and our knees out even wider. If this deep squat position isn't comfortable for you, place something underneath your bum that you can sit on, like a yoga block, a stack of books, or you can hold on to something in front of you so that you can really just relax and sink into this position. I like to use my elbows on the inside of my knees to drive my knees out a little bit further, finding that nice external rotation with hip flexion. And then I want you to think about tucking the tailbone under, so rounding through the back, really breathing into those back ribs, finding that back body expansion here. And again, tapping into that breathing, those big inhales to find that length. And then exhale, just let everything go. So this is opening up the top of the pelvis. So baby has space to engage in early labor when they're ready. Really think about breathing and lengthening through the pelvic floor. You can also add in some little sways here, rocking from side to side in your deep squat. Helping baby to shimmy down and settle into the pelvis. Creating that side to side space as well as front to back. Nice job. Okay, next we're going to come into a child's pose position. So we're going to again have our knees out really nice and wide. Feet can be together underneath our bum. In an all fours kind of style position, we're going to inhale, drop the belly down, arching through the back, lifting the tailbone. And then we're going to exhale to round the tailbone, tucking the bum under, and then you're going to sit your weight back towards your heels. And then we're going to pull forward with that inhale, lift the tailbone, tuck under, and then sit back. And then you're just going to move through those two movements with your own breath. Really exaggerating that lift of the tailbone, anterior tilt, and then that rounding of the tailbone, tucking under and sitting back. Again, this is working to help baby engage into the pelvis, those early stages. Just keep flowing with your breath, keep moving, keep breathing. Nice job. Next, we're going to come into some internal rotation. So I'm going to bring my knees in a little bit narrower, and then I'm going to turn my feet out so that they're wider than my knees, staying in this all fours position. And then again, I'm just going to rock my weight back and then pull forward. As I rock back, I'm going to think about really spreading my two sit bones apart, those bones at the bottom of the pelvis, spreading those apart, breathing into that space, creating that length through the posterior pelvic floor, which needs to stretch the most during childbirth. Really breathing into that space, creating that length. And working that internal rotation at the hip to open up that pelvic outlet. I'm also thinking about lifting the tailbone up towards the ceiling, so that anterior tilt, moving the tailbone back and out of the way. And then most importantly, finding your breath here. Nice final breath, and then we're going to pull forward. So we're going to come into a lunge. So I'm going to bring my right leg forward and out to the side just a little bit, making room for that belly and coming into more external rotation. I'm going to think about tucking my tailbone under and then shifting my pelvis forward and backwards. Again, if you need some comfort under the knee here so that you can fully relax, then place a blanket underneath that back knee. And then keeping the pelvis tucked, you're just going to shift forward and backwards. Taking your inhale as you shift forward, finding that length and opening, and then exhale to push back. Nice job. Next, we're going to take this top foot and we're going to turn it all the way out to the side so that our toe is pointing at a 90-degree angle from our belly button. Trying to keep your hips square, and then you're just going to shift your weight again forward and backward out to the side. Coming into these lateral leans. Inhaling as you bend, again finding that opening, that inhale, and then exhale, coming back to your starting position. Feeling a nice stretch through the inner thighs here and creating that length and opening. Nice job, mama. Let's go ahead and switch over to the other side. So left leg forward this time, tucking the pelvis under and then rocking the pelvis forward and back. So this is working that mid-level of the pelvis, moving the two hip bones in opposing motions to help baby shimmy their way through. The mid-pelvis is a smaller space and is a less mobile portion of the pelvis. So creating that mobility during pregnancy can be really helpful for labor. And then again, tapping into your breathing, big inhales to find that length. Nice job. Let's turn that foot out to the side. Square off the hips here. Inhale to bend. Exhale to come back to the start. Nice job. Last one here. Next, we're going to come into a 90-90 position. So I'm going to have a 90-degree bend with my front leg and a 90-degree bend with my back leg. And then we're going to think about squaring off the hips and the shoulders, inhaling to reach up really nice and tall with the spine. And then we're going to lean over that front leg, working that external rotation at the front. And then we're going to lean over that back leg, coming into internal rotation. And then just with your breath, you're going to switch between the two. And then on your next breath, we're going to fold over this front leg. Option to keep the back leg bent, or you can straighten out that back leg coming into a pigeon pose. And again, you can use pillows underneath your hips here to support you a little bit more. And you should feel that really nice stretch through the glutes, through the hip on that front leg. Option to stay up on the hands. You can also drop down to the forearms. Wherever you're at, just again tapping into that really deep breathing, those big inhales and long exhales. Allowing your body to be heavy here, to sink into the floor, to surrender to sensation. You can take a second to repeat some of your birth affirmations or a prayer that you have, or just any positive thoughts. positive visualizations that you have around your birth. We can do so much physical preparation, but it's also important to remember our mental preparation. Okay, when you're ready, we're just gonna switch over to the other side. So coming into that 90-90 position. And again, just square off the hips, square off the shoulders, sitting up really nice and tall. And then we're gonna hinge forward, leaning over that front leg, and then over that back. And noticing if one side feels any different to the other side, noticing if you're holding any restriction anywhere or stiffness, and maybe just sending a little bit more breath to that area. And then on your next breath, we're going to come into that pigeon pose on the other side. So again, option to straighten out that back leg. Use pillows to support you, to support your hips for some extra comfort here. Feel that amazing stretch on the outside of the hip on that front leg. And then again, option to come down to the forearms here. Wherever you're at, just try to sink into it. Let your body be heavy. Find that breathing pattern. You could take a moment to visualize meeting your baby for the first time. That amazing feeling after you've given birth that you did something so challenging. And now it's time to rest and heal those baby snuggles and all the firsts that you have. Take all of those positive thoughts and feelings. You can channel that into your labor to help you release tension. When you're ready, push yourself up. Our final little pose or position is going to be a child's pose. So just like we did at the beginning, we're going to have a nice wide stance with those knees. Feet can be together underneath your bum as you sit back. And then we're going to walk our hands far forward, really stretching those fingertips as far away from you as you can, finding that nice lat stretch through the back. And again, just letting your body be really heavy here, sinking into the floor. If you want to, you can come into a little side bend here, breathing into that lateral rib cage. It's not only about the pelvis, it's also about the spine and the rib cage. Everything works as one. So creating mobility throughout the whole body is so important. And then finally, just coming into stillness in your child's pose, letting your body relax, staying here for 2 to 3 really deep inhales. Taking a second to find gratitude for this incredible pregnant body of yours and all that it's doing for you and for your growing baby. It can be so easy to criticize our pregnant body as it changes and adapts and grows, but being thankful, grateful, and reminding yourself how beautiful you are and strong and resilient is so important.
especially in the final stages of your pregnancy as you approach labor. I want to be so positive towards this body. One final inhale here together. Really think about lengthening through the pelvic floor. And then push yourself up. Thank you so much for joining me for that labor prep flow. I am so honored to be on this journey with you, and I'm so excited to see you again in our next session together. Bye, Mama.